Ahoy everyone, Tightrope here, and today we're taking a look at the balance changes made to US Forces and Wehrmacht in patch 2.2.5. Having a look at the US Forces changes, and we're starting out in the Infantry Support Center. The Advanced Logistics upgrade has been nerfed, the reinforcement cost reduction has been reduced from 25 down to 20%, and this is being applied to all these kind of manpower cheats. The one on Luftwaffe, Indian Artillery, they're also getting the same reduction. And because casualty clearing on the mid tent doesn't exist anymore, you're not going to get experience from reinforced models coming out of this, so it's also been stripped away. So definitely one of the main reasons to go for ISC has been reduced. And alongside of it, you can see the captain doesn't have his LMG. You have to pay for that separately now. It's a 50 munitions upgrade. So if you're a bit squeezed for munis, if you're trying to afford like a quad or something, you might not be able to get the captain's LMG as well. So it's going to delay the power spike of the captain, which was a pretty big deal in 1v1s. You go for ISC, it's just like a free extra unit. And especially against DAC, LMG with its, reasonable firepower, I think against things like the Crutchlets and all the 250 can really bolster up your early game. Now you're going to have to maybe consider doing something else, sacrificing some mines or something so you can get this. But besides that though, the captain, if you want to build it manually, if you're going for one of the other two support centers, it is now 15 seconds faster to build. After these ISC changes, I imagine we're going to see a lot more mechanized support center builds, even in 1v1s, because nothing in there got touched. Salvage go brrr. All bazookas have had their ready aim time nerfed by about half a second. So ready aim time is kind of like the delay. Say you right click on a tank that's out of range, the bazookas run into range, and then it's kind of like the delay before they shoot. That's their ready aim time, and that has been increased. So there'll be situations where the tank will be able to kite out of range before you can shoot. We'll see if we can notice a difference here. I'll change this to enemy. Yeah, I think I could even notice it right there. So we'll try that again. Yeah, it's there. I can feel it for sure. Panzerbuchse has got a similar treatment in this patch, but the Panzer Schreck, Piet, and Boys AT rifle have not. So we're going to have an aim time race here. How fast can all these different forms of handheld anti-tank shoot a tank at 20 range? Who's going to be the fastest after these round of nerfs? So to my eyes, it looked like the Boys was fastest. Bazookas seem the fastest this time round. Alright, so, they've closed the gap a bit between the fastest and the slowest. In the barracks, the tech time to upgrade bars has been increased from 30 to 60 seconds. In the previous patch, after bars and riflemen both got buffed, it was a very popular strategy against Wehrmacht specifically to go for bars really early before you went for a support center, and once they had that upgraded, there's very little for Wehrmacht to do against it. They didn't have the early light vehicles like DAC do to punish that kind of play, and it was extremely strong. So really trying to squeeze that window of dominance down a little bit, before something like a 221 arrives to counter it. Similar to the LMG changes that we saw in my previous video, poured on them for riflemen. They have Vet 1 ability that speeds up their rate of fire, allows them to do suppression damage, but then they run around slowly. That also had some very unusual numbers when it comes to its performance shooting at units in cover, and that has been kind of standardized, I guess, in this patch. So yeah, you can see it's called Fire Superiority in the mod tools. And on the right are the old values, these are the single player values, and in the middle are the new values. So we can kind of compare them here, left to right. You can see right across the board, there has been a 20% reduction in their performance against cover in terms of accuracy. So right across the board, everywhere it's going to be performing 20% worse. You're going to be missing more often using poured on them against units in all forms of cover. So yeah, that's a pretty big blow. One thing they didn't mention in the patch notes, but is shown here, I'm not sure if these are really old values or if they were previous patch values, but you can see actually the suppression multiplier has been changed as well. So this means you used to be able to do 25% suppression damage, which does matter for poured on them because it does suppression damage. Now it's 0.1. So it's going to be harder to suppress units. I mean, on their own, they wouldn't suppress a unit in heavy cover, but maybe when combined with some other suppression sources, it might all stack up. Same story against light cover, doing less suppression damage to units in light cover. So worse at suppressing and going to be doing less damage to units in cover. And this also applies to their bar, which received pretty much the same round of changes. So yeah, I don't think Pour It On was like overpowered. I think they just wanted to kind of like standardize these unusual numbers, which I think is fair enough, but maybe it's going to be a little bit weak after this. If you upgrade the fighting position to the Mortar Pit, it now has a population cost of 2. And keep an eye on my manpower income here. It also has an upkeep cost of 1 manpower per population, which is, you know, the same as most other support units. Mainlines have a 1.5 multiplier there. So yeah, another nerf to the Mortar Pit. I think in the previous patch didn't it get like an armor nerf as well. They keep saying in these patch videos like, we're not giving US Forces artillery, we're not giving US Forces artillery, and then they keep nerfing the Mortar Pit. I thought it was actually like part of US Forces design, that they slightly overtuned the Mortar Pit, making up for the fact that they don't have artillery, but clearly it's not the case. The 4x4 has had its side armor reduced by 0.25, so a tiny little nerf there. I think, you know, most vehicle-on-vehicle combat at that stage of the game is like head-on against like the 250 crutchets and stuff like that. So it's not going to change there. But, you know, I think infantry quite often comes in from the side, and then the 4x4 is going to die slightly more often because they're going to pin it more. On the M3 half-track, its Vet 1 ability, Fortify position, which allows you to construct a fighting position with it, is no longer free. It now costs 50 manpower. So it is a discount compared to constructing one with the engineer. But yeah, no longer free. Has got a faster cooldown now as well, 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes. There we go. I think this is going to be a lot less popular after this change. Like a big difference between free and 50 manpower. Obviously infinite. One thing I noticed as well is if you go to salvage this, I'll reset my manpower so it's even more obvious. It only gives you 37 manpower back, not the full 75 if you constructed it with an engineer. So yeah, you can't like cheese manpower by building for 50, getting 75 back or anything like that. You only get 37 back. The Greyhound has been nerfed. It's gone up in cost by 5 fuel. Its target size has been increased from 16 to 18. So it's going to make it easier to hit it in the mid to long range. About 12% target size increase there. And, you know, I think the Stuart is also target size 18. Most other light vehicles is target size 16. And then medium tanks are usually around 20, though the Crusader is 19. So kind of edging towards medium tank size. Going to make it easier to hit, especially with AT guns mid to long range. One other change they made to the Greyhound is they tweaked its firing cycle. They reduced its fire aim time and increased its reload time by roughly the same amount. I think maybe it can be about 1/8 of a second slower than it was before. But the thing I was curious about is Vet 3 rate of fire, because as we find out throughout these patch notes, rate of fire mentioned in as a bonus doesn't always mean it's applying to every step of the firing cycle and actually fully increasing your rate of fire by that amount. So is the Vet 3 Greyhound with its 35% rate of fire going to be firing faster now that more of it is on the reload? And we can't unfortunately look at this in the mod tools. It's all hidden behind the state trees, and this is what I talked about in my one of my videos. But do you think this is going faster at Vet 3? Hard to say. I don't think I really have enough experience there. I wanted to do a comparison here. Caro Armato versus Greyhound. Let's see how fast they can kill squads sitting in front of them. You would expect maybe the Caro to win here because it's got worse AoE. Its machine gun upgrade can only shoot straight ahead. It's got a damage cap of 2 instead of 3. Looks like indeed the Karo is a little bit better in this kind of scenario. The Weasel has been buffed, has come down on manpower cost by 20, and it's got a new Vet 1 of +7 vision range. So you can see the edge of my vision there. Kind of didn't really look like I got the full 7 there, right? It kind of went from here to here. It kind of looked like I got 5 a bit more, but I think that's how it goes sometimes. Fog of war, I don't know. But I think the reason why they did this is because, by comparison, the Weasel was looking pretty bad after the 4x4 got freshly buffed, which was also 220 manpower, and it got its health increased to the same as the Weasel. The Weasel still has a armor advantage, a slight armor buff compared to this, but you know, you have to invest your munitions in it, so try to even it out. And the 4x4 is obviously faster, better at chasing down crowd shots and killing them, and it has much more penetration than the Weasel, so still going to be quite a lot better in that role, but there is, you know, overall quite a lot of overlap between these two vehicles. In the heavy weapons battle group, the 50 cal upgrade has been reduced in cost from 75 down to 60 munitions, which I'm a little bit surprised by because I actually thought this was pretty good. You know, I think most machine guns in COH3 do a pretty good job of suppressing units that are out in the open pretty quickly, but where the 50 cal shines is how fast the squad goes from suppressed to pinned, or how well it does against units in cover. So we'll try that test again. This is an unvetted 50 cal, not even with the Vet 2 suppression bonus. Will the Panzer Grenadier be able to reach? Nope. So unvetted, without the 40% suppression buff, it is better than the 40% suppression buff of Vickers. So yeah, that is the strength of the 50. The Paratrooper's bazooka upgrade has been changed. It's gone up in cost, but it now gives you 3 bazookas. So the way developers explain this is they kind of wanted to give every bazooka unit a role. You know, SSF commanders, they're kind of like sneaky bazookas because they can fire out of camouflage. Bazooka team are long-range bazookas with their stationary bonus. Now paratroopers are like durable, hard-hitting bazookas getting in close with their high health, 6 model count, and 3 bazookas doing a lot of damage. The extra bazooka doesn't change the shots to kill, or like the number of volleys to kill match up with light vehicles too much in the early game, but I think it's going to give you a lot more freedom. Like if one of your bazookas misses, it's not such a big deal anymore. So against the 2-2-1, for example, previously if you missed one bazooka, it would get away alive. But now if one bazooka misses, even 2 bazookas miss, it just doesn't really matter. So you should be securing kills more often. A couple of changes to the armored battle group. Veteran Cruise has gone up in cost by 1, and both of these have come down in cost by 1. War Machine, the discount has been reduced by 5%, same as the other manpower cheats. And the Scott has also had a buff. Its damage cap has gone from 3 to 4 models. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't actually know the Scott did get buffed recently. It's now barrage goes out to 90 range. It's normal, like auto fire, still pretty short, but its barrage is super far, which is actually further than the 88. So you can barrage an 88 with a Scott and not get hit in return, unlike the old days. So we'll see how it goes here. Against a machine gun in the open or a clumped up Grenadier. Result. In the Spec Ops battle group, marked vehicle has been changed. Now it will provide vision in the area around the tank as well as applying the debuffs. So let's see how it goes here. Activate, fog on. So the circle goes out to 50 range, but the sight's actually only to 35, which is, I think, a little bit confusing. But yeah, there's a good chunk of vision. I mean, that's like normal vision. This is basically what the Panzer IV itself can see. You can see there's also actually the plane itself providing vision, like a pretty damn big circle of vision as well. which makes me think like 50 munitions for this compared to 50 munitions for this, which is kind of similar. Like, you're getting a damn good deal out of this now, right?
99th Recon heading out. And no sweat. Target's ours.
Like, this is maybe where the 50 circle comes from. So you're getting like 15 more vision. Well, maybe like 20 actually, because this goes 10 range beyond the circle indicates, which is probably also bad. The circle needs to be changed for that. It also provides the big circle of vision around the plane. I think Jericho Trumpet, though, only provides vision inside the circle. The planes themselves don't provide vision, which I think is a little bit confusing between abilities. And maybe a little bit confusing to your opponent. You know, they think, okay, if I'm in the circle, I'm visible. Outside the circle, I should be fine. But because the plane flying around provides vision as well, it's not actually the case. So keep an eye out for that. You will notice you no longer have the option to call in the Whizbang. So the strategy where you spam multiple units into just spamming Whizbang call-ins, not going to be possible anymore. And Whizbang production has gone up in cost by 2 command points, kind of equaling the change that happened in the previous patch, where you get more command points for building your final tech structure. It's kind of like equaling that change, leveling things out again. One final thing I was thinking about related to the Whizbang is its Vet 1 ability, Jettison. Like maybe after jettisoning, it can't shoot for like, I don't know, 6-ish seconds, maybe like 1 reload cycle before it can shoot, just to give the tanks that are like ambushing it a bit more of a chance to do damage before it starts returning fire. As you probably expected, the Italian Partisan battle group is receiving quite a few changes in this patch. First off, to its tunnel network recharge has gone up from 15 to 25 seconds. Jump in there, jump out of this tunnel over here. 25 over here. So you're going to have to be thinking quite a lot more about which units you want to send out with the tunnel network, instead of it being pretty much always the best choice to send everything out of the tunnel and not having to run anywhere. But do be aware, like if you jump into a tunnel and then retreat from it, this does not set the tunnel network on recharge. I didn't play that much Partisans in the previous patch, but a lot of people were saying that, you know, the ability recharge that you got at Vet 2 on Riflemen or Vet 3 at Scouts was actually reducing the cooldown on the tunnel network. So is this still going to be 25? Yes, so if that did happen, it has now been fixed. OSS coordination has also been nerfed. It's gone up in command point cost by 1. The cooldown bonus it gives to auto-constructing tunnels has also been nerfed. And if you retreat a partisan from a building, it will set the tunnel network on cooldown now. Previously it wouldn't. Which is, I think, a really big change for this battle group, because I think that was one of the main frustrations with Partisans. You know, they pop into a building, control the area for a while. Maybe you'd have a flamethrower there to counter it. You'd do like 3 flame bursts. They wouldn't drop any models in that insta-retreat. Heal up. They didn't, you know, bleed any manpower, but they controlled this area. And then they'd be able to pop back in maybe before you could even control it yourself. And it just made fighting on a map with loads of buildings utter torture against Partisans. So I'm glad to see this is getting toned down. Resistance fighters themselves have also received a lot of nerfs in this patch. First off, their cost has gone up by 20 manpower, not a big deal. Molotov Assault has also gone up in cost by 5 munitions, but it's had increased wind-up time, so this is the delay between you activating the ability and them actually launching the Molotovs. That's been increased, so I'm probably going to make it easier to recognize them winding up for the throw animation and actually dodge away from it. And then the AoE of the Molotov Assault has also been nerfed. So let's see how it goes against this squad of Grenadiers. One thing about the Molotov Assault previously is that often it felt like the flames did damage slightly outside of their circle, or slightly outside the animated area. But it seems like it's maybe better representing where the flames are, where you actually take damage. One problem that I had with Molotov Assault, if you used it on an enemy vehicle, is that you can't see the flames left down behind if they all collide with the vehicle. So you could run over it, and there's like invisible flames here that you can die to. So Looks like they still haven't solved that issue. The ambush bonus that resistance fires get, you can see that debuff that they're applying to the enemy has been nerfed from 40% down to 30%, and their Panzerbuchse has a slower rate of fire, same as Panzer Jagers that got in this patch. Medical caches has actually come down in command point cost by 1. Obviously this competes with underground detonation, so that was so good in the previous patch, not surprising that nobody used this. But Spy Network has gone up in cost by 1, and the munitions cost to use it has gone up by 20. A couple of changes to the forward headquarters. You actually need a headquarters on the field before you get the garrison bonus. Garrison bonus has been reduced by 5%, though the descriptions like here and here don't reflect that. They still say 25% instead of 20, but if you actually look at the bonus and the units, status bar does show 20, so that's good. And finally, what everybody's been waiting for, underground detonation. It's got a very mild munitions cost increase by 15, and they say they've added extra audio cues, so let's see how it goes. This will just pop one raw.
Explosives primed. They won't see this coming. Use lid. Evacuate the area. Explosives primed. They won't see this coming.
Am I deaf? I can't really hear it until it's like about here. Moments away from exploding. See what we'll do. We'll move this guy over. Drop a detonation on him.
Use lid.
Take over player.
Evacuate the area. Guns are loaded.
Okay, is it louder for the enemy? I could definitely hear it a lot more when I was the enemy. That's interesting. Let's try that again. Check it on the enemy.
Explosives
Take
primed.
over, fog on.
They won't see this coming.
I think it is maybe more audible for the enemy than it is for you. Interesting.
Explosives primed. They won't see this coming.
Oh, from this side didn't sound so loud.
Explosives primed. They won't see this coming.
So I think if it's coming like off the bottom of the screen, because sounds from the bottom are generally like louder, you can hear it quite well.
Use lid. Evacuate the area.
I don't know if that's cheat commands mod or what, but off the top or the sides doesn't seem to be as audible. So watching a few of these from the enemy's point of view now on replay.
Incoming! Move, Grenadiers! We finished the fighting for this.
So this is what we couldn't hear in cheat commands mod, swapping between players.
Indirect fire!
Big old beeping noise. Seems like it tracks with the bomb's position. Okay, that's going to make it a lot easier to notice. I was thinking like, have they changed much here? I could barely tell a difference, but now watching it from the enemy's perspective on a replay, you can very clearly hear the difference. Moving on to the Wehrmacht changes, and we're starting out with the Stug. It's got a new version of hull down. Now it gets extra range compared to the version that's on the Panzer IV, and wider arc. So let's see what it looks like here.
Get to work.
We can compare it to the arc of the Stug. That's the new change.
Engines running.
That's actually pretty good coverage. Wow. That looks pretty similar to a PAX coverage. Not quite,
Orders, deploy! I want the gun here!
We're eager to get
Not
moving.
here!
but not too bad. Like obviously it's shorter range. 50 range. Wow, the arc looks like it goes a lot further than it can actually shoot, huh? No
What needs to be
misleading
done?
there. But alright, that's respectable. Let's compare their rate of fire.
Load rounds. Eyes on approach.
That's quite fast. Yeah, okay. So yeah, before I don't think you'd be using the stroke hold down basically ever, but now it looks alright. They've also changed the Vet 1 on the stroke G, point blank blast. Now it has 5 more range while it's active, and you'll be able to see the cone, I think, while it's going. So let's see how it goes here. Okay, so it just shows you like the edge of the range, not the cone like I was maybe expecting. It's out of there. Alright, makes it a little bit more usable. Yeah, I don't know. The Strug use, I swear, after they changed point blank blast, it plummeted down. 5 more range, it's kind of handy, because before, the problem is you drive in, activate it, and then you have to be really fast reacting because they'd retreat, and the range was so small you wouldn't be able to chase them at all because the Strug's so much slower than a retreating squad. Made it really hard to get value out of this, more than like one shot, so might be able to get 2 or 3 hits now after this. The Kettenkrad's trip flares are now 2.5 seconds faster to construct. Jagers have got a tweak to their Vet 2 bonus. It used to just be a cooldown bonus there and it was 20%. Now it's to overall rate of fire and it's been decreased slightly to 15%. But I think it's overall going to be a buff to their total firing cycle. And the developers said they felt confident doing this now that shrieked up Jagers don't get camouflage anymore. There is one thing I wanted to mention regarding the Panzer Shrek, and it's a stat called Reload Weapon Upon Death, I think it is, or Weapon Switch Upon Death, something like that. Basically, for the Shrek, it means that if the model carrying the Shrek dies, when the weapon swaps to a new model, say if the Shrek just shot, they don't have to reload it before they shoot again. So you can actually shoot quite a lot of shots back to back to back in succession. Whereas for other pieces of hand only tank, at least I'm pretty sure this is how it goes for the Bazooka and the Pit. Even if you haven't shot, if you were like 90% there, the guy was just about to shoot, and then the model carrying the Pit dies, transfers to the next guy, even though it hasn't been shot, then they have to reload it before they can shoot. So I think this is one of the big reasons why Pits especially feels so bad to use, because, you know, if the guy carrying it dies, has to reload, and it's got like the longest aim time and stuff. So let's do a little bit of a comparison here. I'm going to try to do like a race. This squad's just going to shoot at the Sherman, and this squad I'm going to try kill the specific model that's carrying the Shrek and try see if I can kill this faster. Obviously this is like a bit of a, you know, unusual test scenario, but we'll do it anyway. There is also like one slight bug related to this. I noticed when killing this, I don't know if this is related to cheat mod or if this is just a bug with the game, but whenever I kill the model carrying the Shrek and transfers to the new one, there's actually a pretty high chance that the new one doesn't shoot at the enemy tank unless I give it a command to manually. So I'm going to be manually right clicking to attack between every swap, so that could slow things down a little bit as well, but that was a lot of talking. Here we go.
Jäger! Enemy Panther! Enemy Panther! Let's down! Jäger! That Panzer has to go! Part-time hit! Jäger! We're being promoted!
So, killed it before the Sherman even got to half health. Obviously, this is not something you can really replicate in a game, but I think it's just a little bit of like an injustice that the Shrek gets this and the Piet doesn't. So let's see how it goes with the Piet squad now by comparison. So swap it. Just to reload. I'll just kill that guy again. Didn't get a chance to shoot it. Reload. Just about to shoot. Not allowed to. Has to reload. So yeah. Justice for other forms of anti-tank. I don't know which way you want it to go, but it needs to go one way or the other, I think. The Nebelwerfer has got a new Vet 1 ability called High Explosive Rocket Barrage. The white phosphorus is gone. Overall, there was like a bit too much overlap, I think, between the regular barrage and the white phosphorus, they kind of like denied the zone, did similar amounts of damage and stuff. So yeah, too much overlap. So now I've got this new one, 40 munitions. Let's see how it goes. I've got a formation of riflemen here. You can see based on the circle, the high explosive, which is this one, is actually a little bit smaller, has slightly better angle scatter. I looked through all the numbers, so it should scatter side to side a little bit less than the regular Nebelwerfer barrage. Let's see how it goes. I do want to say that the icons in these look very similar. I know that they're different directions, but they're both kind of rockets. A very similar color palette. I feel like I wasn't that impressed by that one. Let's have a look at this again. It doesn't like one-tap models. I think that's the problem with it. Never like one taps a model, so they can always maybe retreat after they get hit by the first rocket, compared to maybe like the Whizbang or something. I don't know, it doesn't seem like that sick. I was looking through the stats on it though, and it actually has, I think, 4 times the amount of penetration as the regular incendiary rocket barrage, so it should be like incredibly good against heavy tanks. So we're going to try against the Black Prince. This got a health buff this patch as well. It's got some big armor. It's like landing in a circle all around it. I don't know, it didn't really look that impressive to me for 40 munitions. Like, this is, you know, not super long range. Here's the max range out here, and with no fog, so this is like, you know, pretty good scatter. And it just, yeah, didn't really impress me too much. Oh, one more change to the Nebelwerfer in its target table. Now its bonus damage against vehicles has been reduced from 100% down to 50%. So it should be less effective against vehicles, maybe less effective at counter-barraging things like the Bishop. I think we can see the difference there. Should make it a lot easier to keep your Bishops alive. The Brummbar has been buffed. It's got new veterancy bonuses at every tier. I'll show the before and after. I think overall the new vet is better. And more important than that, it's also got a range boost up to 35 range now. So, you know, most tanks go out to 40. A little bit shorter than most tanks, but more importantly, that's now the same range that the Bulldozer Sherman has. And I feel a little bit bad for the Bulldozer. I feel like this has maybe encroached the Brummbar into its territory. If we compare the costs, you see that the Brummbar is more expensive, but I think it is worth the premium. It's got more health, more armor. I know that the Bulldozer has the turret. It's not always that good. And it's got the dozer blades. Just about nobody uses this. The flak emplacement has been buffed and now has 5 more sight range, though it can't see all the way out to its max attacking distance. And it's got an accuracy buff. And the Bofors has got a similar change in this patch. So we're going to do a bit of a comparison, see how fast they can kill these riflemen here, standing about 35 range away.
You have all. I don't want to see a single moving target on the tables, Commandant.
Okay, pretty close across the board. It was looking good for the flak team weapon initially, but then the Bofors started catching up massively down the straight. So pretty similar performance all round. Also in Luftwaffe, Infantry Reserves has manpower discount reduced by 5%, same as the other manpower cheats in this patch. The PaK-40's Vet 1 ability, Ambush Camouflage, has been changed. Now after you activate it, you have to wait 5 seconds before it can be deactivated. And then after you deactivate it, you have to wait another 15 seconds before you can reactivate it. So just making it a little bit harder to get these bonuses. In the mechanized battle group, Panther production has gone up by 2 command points to compensate for the extra 2 command points that you get from building your final tech stage, which was introduced in the last patch. The artillery officer has come down in cost by 30 manpower. Also his ability focus supervision. The production speed booster on this has gone up from 100% to 150%. So we're going to focus supervise that one. Compare how fast machine gun upgrades on this compared to Natty over here. So it's a pretty dramatic difference if you're trying to get up a bunker in time.
We have finished the research.
That's a huge boost. And they also said that now the rate of fire bonus that you get, such as if you put this on the Obiche, now applies to the full firing cycle. Maybe previously it was only applying to the reload.
Complete.
So we'll see if we can compare these two. Start this one a little bit later. Alright. Yeah, look how much later that last shot came through. In the Terror battle group, heavy gunnery has been buffed on the Panzer IV and the King Tiger. The coaxial and the hull guns have been buffed up. About 50% more suppression from them. So we'll see how that goes here.
We're locked and loaded.
Okay, they suppressed really fast there. I did upgrade the machine gun pintle on them as well. So I think in most situations you're going to have that. And we get to pin before it wears off. Yes. With about 10 seconds to spare. So even if you're moving around a little bit, or maybe if they're in light cover, the King Tiger has received a handful of buffs. First off, it's had a cost reduction, so now it should equal the other call-in heavy tanks. The fuel penalty while it's on the field has been reduced from minus 50% to only minus 25%, and it's had a slight reload rate buff. So yeah, it's going to be firing more often. Don't see too many King Tigers, but whenever I've managed to field one, and 1v1s at least, it has felt very good. It's just like an infantry annihilator. Maybe just the metagame is not the best for King Tigers right now. A couple of changes to the new battle group Last Stand, and we're starting out with the Nebelwerfer Overwatch. Now, upon activating it, there'll be some smoke deployed straight in the middle. So you kind of won't catch your enemy off guard. They won't be like, oh, there's a circle on the ground. What is this? Try to have to figure it out. They'll see the smoke. They'll be like, okay, it's off map. I need to get out of the zone. The Borgward wanze has had a change to the scatter on its rockets. Now they should scatter along more often, giving you usually a high chance of landing on the target if you try to do a barrage right in the middle. Obviously, there's still quite a lot of side-to-side scatter. And this isn't, this isn't max range, but quite a lot of RNG in the Borgward. As you can see, 1 out of 3, we finally got engine damage. But yeah, I think usually you want to get a little bit closer than that. And the veterancy requirements have also been dropped by about 20%, which I think is fair enough because I don't think I've ever seen one of these hit Vet 3. Most of the time people are kind of just going on suicide missions with it, with the heavy demo charge. And the final change for Wehrmacht is to Immobilize and Fortify. Similar treatment to what we saw from Hell Down earlier on casemates, widening up the arc, making it, a more appealing option to use on these type of vehicles. Main difference, obviously, these can't move. In Hell Down, you can break out of Hell Down, and this gives you an extra 2.5 range compared to Hell Down. I still don't think we're going to see much of this because, salvaging is so good, so having Sternpires that can salvage wrecks and stuff, it's just some really stiff competition at the moment, but maybe once this gets nerfed, we'll see this again. If you're enjoying my patch coverage, I hope you consider coming on board as a Patreon backer.